welcome. I'm speaking with an amazing person who is a true global networker and a person who's bringing peace and prosperity to the entire world. This is Rehan Allahwala. I've had the pleasure of speaking with him in a little bit, and it's really an honor to have you with us, sir. How are you?
Thank you. I'm fine.
So we were trying to see if we could get you to come to Israel, but it sounds like it's not until Israel develops diplomatic relations with Pakistan. It's going to be a bit of a problem.
True.
You're able to meet Israelis? Where are you located primarily? In the United States, in Pakistan, or everywhere?
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
And nowhere.
Everywhere and nowhere. Very philosophical. Could you maybe tell our viewers, some nice little tidbit or something? I don't know how many people are watching this, but I see a couple of friends who are watching this. Maybe just introduce yourself so that they know who I'm talking to.
Okay, my name is Rehan. I was born in Karachi, Pakistan, and I now run an organization called the Institute of Peace. And I'm an entrepreneur and a technologist by background, not by education, but by experience. I never went to college and university to study. Now I used my experience in technology to see how we can connect people together, to talk to each other, to learn from each other, kind of over a cup of tea and coffee, how it used to be, how people used to travel and learn, like Ibn Battuta and Marco Polo and others. And I use primarily Facebook to build these bridges, because Facebook allows us to not just do a Skype call, but actually broadcast the Skype call, so that others, like you, might be comfortable in talking to a Muslim, and I might be comfortable in talking to a Jewish person, but others who have never met a Jewish person before would be very scared in Pakistan, or not just be scared, even put somebody in a corner where I don't want to talk to this guy, he talks to Jewish people, or I don't want to talk to this Jewish guy, he talks to Muslim people. So we cut ourselves so far away from each other that we don't want to even have a dialogue. So one of the things I do is a show called Meet an Israeli. And in that show, I try to find any Israeli I could find who would want to talk to me for 15 to 30 minutes. And we don't talk about politics or religion. We just talk about, so what do you do? What do you eat? What's your favorite food? Where do you live? What's the best restaurant in your area? What's your, how does your mom call you? Or, how many kids do you have? All about your family and stuff. And what's your favorite yarmulke? Or, show me your best kippah, or whatever, weird stuff, which is not directly related to religion, but human stuff, which is very, very common. And then I'd also, so that people who are watching would kind of want to see that, okay, Yoel is also a human being. He also has kids. He also has a family. And, he kind of looks like a cool guy. Why don't I friend him on Facebook? So they would end up friending you, and the more communication starts. And I do a similar show called Meet a Palestinian for the same reason. A lot of people don't really know any Palestinians. In Pakistan, I remember we used to go for protests for Palestinian issue, and millions and hundreds of thousands of people will go. But then I started realizing I don't know any Palestinian person in my life. Hello, I mean, I'm actually devoting time for this cause, and I don't know a single person who actually lives there. That's kind of weird. So I started finding them and started talking to them and started making friends with them. Same thing with Israel. I mean, I grew up. You asked me the other day, why do you do this? So I kind of grew up thinking that the world is ruled by Jewish people, and they're the smartest people in the world, and everything which is great is invented by the Jews. So I was like, man, I need to get some Jewish friends so I can, get rub shoulders with them so I can become a little smart. And that's how I got to started to talking with them and kind of understand how do you bring up your kids that they're so smart? How do you bring up your families? What do you do? What's so weird? What do you eat? What's happening here? That you guys are apparently only 15 million people,
14.
literally 14 million people. There you go. And so apparently you're controlling the world. That's what I grew up hearing. So that's what I grew up believing. And then now I have so many Jewish friends. I'm like, dude, you're like, here's some tips for you. You need to make some money, dude. It's like, it's just, it's so, uh, I'm still looking for those amazingly super smart um, group of people. I mean, I think that everybody's smart. I'm not
Yeah.
saying that they're not smart. I'm just thinking that everybody's smart and everybody can do whatever anybody is doing. It's just you have to train yourself, work hard, and go get it. But so that's kind of my story on why I do this. It's the curiosity which is was in me to go out there and figure out for myself and find for myself, are they really lying? Are they really all that mean? Are they really out there to harm us? But I found, in the end, I found that nobody is out there to harm you. Nobody is out there to do hurt you except you yourself, because you could believe anything. If you're going to believe anything, then life is going to be difficult for you. And it's kind of, I think all the groups have some kind of enemies, and it's human to kind of have a person I know used to define that a group defines themselves based on who their enemy is. Like one of the properties of your group includes who your enemy is. Like for example, if you're an American, North Korea is not your friend, Iran is not your friend, is your enemy. Or if you're an Israeli, Arabs are not your friend, and all that stuff. If you're a Pakistani, India is not your friend. So that kind of uh, stuff is what you're raised with. And I'm just a curious person who's just asking a lot of questions all the time and just wanting to see it for myself rather than believing everything, um, whatever I was told. And I found really everything which I used to believe in like totally upside down. So, and I'm still on that journey. I don't
Very
know if it makes sense, but that's my kind of story. I'm really, I guess I have nothing better to do in life than doing this.
You're doing amazing work connecting people. But like I've been saying to a lot of my Jewish friends, so with this work that I'm doing, the Abrahamic movement, is
Mm-hmm.
that if we, for a second, take a step back and recognize that we're the oldest of the Abrahamic religions, but we're also the smallest, and that if we take a step back and think about the fact that there are 1.5 billion Muslims and 1.5 billion Christians, that we're at the fountainhead of a movement of 3 billion people, and that's something very, very powerful. And I think that for Jews, one of the reasons that people are interested in us is that we are talked about in the Holy Scriptures of the Christians and of the Muslims. So even though people may never have met a Jew or had any connection to anyone Jewish, they will have heard of us, often not necessarily in the most positive light. The New Testament and the Quran have both positive and negative things to say about Jews. But it's clear that people are interested in us, and that we have a responsibility as a result of that, in my opinion, to lead and to try, specifically with the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. In my opinion, it's really necessary for us to resolve this, because it's a weight that's hanging specifically over the Muslim world. That there's this feeling that the Jews control like you said, that the Jews control the media, that the Jews control politics, and I think that all of these things are, it's more that we're overrepresented in a lot of these fields, and people are asking, well, why are the Jews persecuting the Palestinians? And I feel that in order to us stop being the scapegoat, that basically all of the problems are because of the Jews in the world, that we need to be the fountain of efforts for peace, and that it's our duty to, if we can resolve our conflict here, that maybe conflicts throughout the world can also be resolved. So that's one of the things that I'm working on with this Abrahamic movement, Abrahamic federalism idea. I've been incredibly impressed with the support coming from the Indian subcontinent, from Bangladesh, from Pakistan, from India. It seems like the people on the East, they immediately are attracted to this, and it's very interesting. I was a little surprised by how receptive people in the East are, but I think that there is a real desire to see this conflict resolved, and I think that we also we all have experience with the problems of partition, dividing the land, and I know, talking to Unisa Kader, she's working on the idea of reuniting the subcontinent. I think that a lot of the approach of the British was to partition lands, and I think that instead of dividing lands and divorcing people from each other, that we need to learn how to work with each other, and that's the goal. And federalism is a model that allows us to create situations where we have separate states, but we are all working together under one third or overriding body. So I majored in political science and religious philosophy. So I often like to joke that in America they say the two things you're not supposed to talk about at a dinner table conversation is religion and politics. And so I say I majored in bad dinner table conversation topics. But I believe that we need to be talking about religion. We need to be talking about politics. I think we need to be having educated conversations about religion and politics, that I think with respect and learnedness, scholarship, and that different peoples of different faiths can learn about each other and learn from each other and can strengthen each other. So that's part of what I'm working on in my own humble way.
Do you live in Tel Aviv or somewhere else?
Yeah, I live right next to Tel Aviv.
So I would like to introduce you to some of my friends in Tel Aviv and in the startup acceleration business, because you come from political science and education. There's another friend of mine in New York who has a peace accelerator, and then there is another peace accelerator in the U.S. Institute of Peace, which is called the USIP in Washington, D.C. So the idea is that they empower peace acceleration technologies. So, for example, to me, if every person in Israel had 10 friends who are Muslims on Facebook, that would be an amazing thing to achieve, because I know that in Israel everybody's required to know Arabic, but most don't know Arabic. And if every Palestinian had 10 Israeli friends, and every 10 Israelis had 10 Facebook friends, even on from the other side of the border, they can actually go and verify the information which is coming to them through news media. And news media is normally used to keep the government machinery to work, because the nation state was created, and now the nation state need to protect itself from the so-called other nation state, and therefore they have to do certain things, give out certain information, create an enemy, because it's easier to unite people against an enemy instead of uniting them without a reason. So, as you know, one of the presidents said, if there was an alien attack, humanity will just unite very quickly because everybody will have a common enemy. So, enemies are used by sociologists probably by for uniting the nations, and that's one of the reasons that enemies are there, because you need to tell your tribe that this is your enemy, and you need to unite together against that certain common enemy. And now the common enemy of humankind is weather. We all live under the same umbrella of the sun, of same umbrella of the ozone layer. We breathe the same air. Drink the same water. The second biggest problem of humanity is the nuclear bombs or some crazy button being pressed. And the third craziest idea, which is actually coming from this guy, Noel Harari, who is also from Tel Aviv, is the artificial intelligence and technology which will destroy us. So before all that happens, we might as well try to see how much we can actually unite ourselves, or even you don't have to be united. You just talk to each other. I
Right.
encourage dialogue. I really wish that everybody in Gaza, especially, spoke English. I wish everybody in Israel spoke English because they don't speak English, and it's really hard to communicate with people in Israel because most of them don't speak English and they're scared of talking to Muslims. I had a few conversations which I had to delete on request by them later on because they're like, "Oh, you're going to get us in trouble. You're Muslim. You're this and that," and their parents didn't like it or their families didn't like it. So I'm glad you initiated this call with me. You're probably the first Israeli ever taking me on a live call from Israel on a call like this, and I hope it's not your first ever. I mean, I hope it stays keep on going on because I've been doing this connecting work for many years, and I found that since this Facebook Live thing came in and multiple conversation thing came in, everything starts to change because all those people who are now observing your Facebook are starting to listen in on us and seeing what these seem to be normal people. I mean, hello. I mean, they're going to be skeptical people still, but there are a lot of people who start listening, and I'm hoping that after we end this call, I'll get 2 or 3 friend requests from Israel, from people who are Jewish, and I can guarantee you that if you do a Facebook Live with me on my wall, you will get like 100 friend requests for sure from Muslims, because I've kind of trained them over the years to do this, and I've been giving free laptops to people. I've been incentivizing. I've been talking about this. I've written a book on it. So it's like they're trained to go out there now and explore the world without sitting in an aeroplane, just by sitting on their Facebook account. So you will experience more of that from when you come to my wall, and your friends will definitely. So I'm actually kind of scared to now take interview of people or post their photos because next morning they come like, "Oh my God, who are these Ahmad and Muhammads? I'm being attacked by ISIS." They're like, "Oh my God," they're like, it's really hard for them to kind of cope up with a lot of friend requests, and they're like, I mean, everybody's now scared of Facebook and the security part of it. There's nothing to be scared of, but still people are scared of it, especially people with a beard or like a older age after 40. I mean, young ones too, but older ones are more scared, I think, and they just don't want to use it. And sometimes I tell my friends I evangelize Facebook more than Mark Zuckerberg does. I've written more content on about
I
how to use and
believe,
why to use Facebook than himself.
I believe when we win the Nobel Peace Prize that it should be shared with Mark Zuckerberg, because I think a lot of people see social media as, in this day and era, as a negative, and it's used to spread hate. But if you're able to overcome some of the obstacles, you can. This is a conversation that would never have been possible even 5 years
Right.
ago, and that's an amazing thing. And I think you've really hit on something. I somehow got into your network, and I think through you, like my friends, like I said, they're going to connect to this and to other people, and it's having an exponential we've moved over a tipping point, I think, where we are communicating with each other in a way that we never did before as humans, and it's an incredible thing.
So I would strongly encourage you, if you want to create this federalism, I would strongly encourage you to, grab one person a day from my Facebook and just ask them to interview them, or just talk and have a good conversation. Just like, if we met over a coffee, we'd probably talk about the same exact stuff. The only difference is that we're being recorded, we're being monitored, we're being watched by our friends and family who are kind of scared and skeptical about the whole peace thing, or even if it's worth spending the time on here. So, I tell them, let them be, and just we keep on doing our job. I am enjoying doing this myself. I'm happy to see so many people finally getting out of their own skin, like the snake has to shed their skin. And I don't know if you heard, or you probably did not, it was in Urdu. I have another friend who I met over Facebook. She was a trainer, and she came up with an idea that I want to train more people to talk. So we came up with a goal in January to train 10,000 people to come on Facebook Live and do these interviews. And I think the whole planet will change if we just do this, just starting to conversate.
Is that Rabia? Rabia Noor Mohammed?
Rabia, yes.
I'm supposed to talk with her soon. I will look at.
So, it's very interesting technology. It's very interesting process. I did not design it. I just use it. I just bumped into the whole thing, but it's amazing. It's really does wonders. It's really doing wonders. I think the people in Pakistan will see what I have done in the next 3 years, how everything will accelerate in phenomenal way. And I don't see anywhere else in the world this happening. So I think we will definitely take full advantage of this, hopefully, and more people will join our tribe and kind of start. I don't tell anyone to do anything. I'm just asking them to come out and just talk. Whatever your goals are, you have a different goal, I have a different goal. My goal is, let's end the world poverty, and let's create more entrepreneurs to do that. And once you empower human beings with a certain amount of money, then you can empower them with, okay, well, here's a brown person, here's a black person, here's a white person, and they're all the same. God made them all the same, and everybody's the same. But if you don't have enough, then you go out and say, hey, that's a Jewish guy, he has more money, or he's a Muslim guy, he has less money, or he's ISIS, or he's this, or he's that. And then on top of that, the technologies which are going to be around us, like Alexa and Google Home, would be all around us. We would just not be able to lie to anyone. We could just do a fact check instantly.
Right.
It just would not be able. We won't just be able to lie to each other. But it's a matter of time. Then that it'll all start happening.
We're speeding up. I feel like we're moving at a
too fast.
Yeah, it's hard to keep up.
Too fast for most people, but not fast enough for in many cases. I sometimes I used to wish, like up to 7-8 years ago, that if we could just park all our armies for 20 years and just not fire a bullet for 20 years, I think everything will just start changing, because the technology on the internet is allowing people to interact in ways which it was never ever possible before. At least knowingly. And so find more guys, man. If you can dedicate an hour a day, talk to 4 people for 15 minutes, I can guarantee you 6 months from now you will see a different planet. So much power in this small little device. It's just unbelievable. Just a conversation. I'll share a video with you of a friend of mine.
Go ahead. No, and now that I've done it, now I feel like I've overcome the hurdle of fear. I've never hosted, first of all, I'm hosting, an international personality. I've never been a host of a TV show before or anything like that. And beforehand, I was I was being interviewed by the other people. I've never been interviewed before. So it's like, now that I've done it, and I've done it on both sides of the camera, in the big box and the little box. Now it's like, okay, I can go do this again. So
Yeah. I just need more volunteers who speak English to do it for now, and then who speak Arabic. For example, I introduce you to Murad, who lives very near you, and he is the mayor of his town. I really wish I could visit his town and live there for a month, but I just don't know Arabic. And his town is called Jasr al-Zarqa, and you might have heard his name. And it's a very low income town. So most Muslims don't even know that there are Muslims in Israel. 30% of population of Israel is apparently Muslim, and most Muslims in the world don't know that. I did not know that, and when I tell this to Islamic Muslim leaders, they're like, "What? You must be Mossad, Rehan. You must be getting money from them, telling all this wrong information to people." Well, I said, well, just Google it. Don't ask me. Mossad must have paid a lot of money to Google also. I'm not even writing it. So it's just so I've finally gotten over the fear of doing all this, of being labeled, of being named, of being endangered, of my life. I mean, I've finally gotten over everything. And to be honest, you really don't have to do anything but sit back and just relax and listen. And if somebody's shouting at you, don't react, just listen and let them shout, and 10 minutes later they'll stop shouting. They won't shout anymore. And they will actually apologize to you after 10 minutes of shouting. But you have to have the patience of listening to someone for a while and not reacting on them, and just nodding your head and listening, and really listening. It takes a lot of energy to do it. So I hope you do it. Join the club of 10,000 people, crazy people.
They say that the people who are crazy enough to believe they can change the world are the ones who do. So
well, I just want to change myself. I don't want to change the world.
Working on both both projects.
So is that you standing, or is that some of your children standing? I see somebody inquisitive standing across the street from you or something.
It's my wife.
Okay. Hey, ISIS is not here today. It's not dangerous. Yeah. It's really, I have so many friends now in Israel. It's unbelievable that when I started my journey, I did not know a single person over there. And now I have so many sweet people over there talking and listening and interacting. But as I said, the biggest problem I found is mistrust. The second biggest problem I found is language, and because of the language, there is mistrust. People can't see me, can't understand me, so it's a big problem. And if you can kind of meet these startup communities and see how they can leverage technology, because Israel is startup nation. Israel is the startup capital of the world. So if you guys can create technologies and see how you can have more dialogue, more conversation between Israel and Palestine, that'll really help a lot of you people. And I really hope that every Israeli, every Jewish person could. First of all, not every Jewish is on Facebook, because part of you guys don't want to use Facebook, but
they're my neighbors.
Yeah. And
I live most Haredi town. I live right next to a big ultra Orthodox town.
Oh, okay, yeah. So most of them don't, and then not most, many of them don't, but those who do, I really hope that they would find 10 friends or Facebook friends. I would encourage them to add me. If they don't like me after 10 days, they can unfriend me always. They can block me, no problem. And just make an attempt, reach out, your wife, your children can, friend my wife, my children, reach out, and just, it's really that easy. It's just weird how complicated we have made everything.
Right. You're definitely right. Thank you so much. I look forward to speaking with you again, and I do look forward for the day when you can visit Israel, and hopefully it won't be that far off. And yeah, thank you so much. It's pretty late here, so I should probably get to sleep, even though I'm usually up until the wee hours of the morning. I don't like sleeping, at least not at night.
Well, you're
But
more than welcome to reach out to me anytime. And if you feel like, if you have 10 minutes, 15 minutes, if you have questions which you want me to speak about, or you think your friends can enjoy, or after this conversation, some of your friends will ask you questions, feel free to write them down, send them to me, and I can then speak about it myself, or we can do a live call. Feel free to give more interviews, take more interviews, because this is the fastest way of bridge building, which you will find. I'll be happy to introduce you to alims, muftis, priests. If you still have your American passport, there's a Parliament of World Religion. I think I already told you about it. It's happening in November. You should definitely come if you can find a sponsor, or if you can sponsor yourself. It's really worth going there. There's like 5,000 people from all the religions over there. It's just amazing. Um, yeah, and feel free to, as I said, reach out. If I could be of any help, let me know. If you go on to these startup communities on a personal, selfish note, you will be able to find people who can sponsor you to do this full time, what you're doing, because this is literally peace building effort. You can do it as a startup thing, or you can build your own startup incubator. Um, and if you haven't read the book Startup Nation, definitely read it. And build your, you can make a living doing this, literally, instead of teaching English. And then this, you love doing this anyway, so you might as well get paid for it.
okay, I'm not doing it for for
But you
selfish
have a
reasons.
stomach attached. We all have a stomach attached, unfortunately. So we have to
Yeah.
make a living. So
Yes.
if you can monetize it somehow, that would be great.
Yeah, no, I'm in the nonprofit world, so there are many incubators for people who want to, create the next Waze or app or high tech thing. But when it comes to the nonprofit world, it's a little bit harder. But I feel like with Abrahamic federalism, the Abrahamic movement, that we're literally sitting on a diamond mine, and that this could break out into something really big, and that we're at the begin. I feel like we're at the beginning of something very big. We're getting attention. We're starting to get followers, and we're growing. It's still small, but I feel like we're definitely moving in the right direction. But thank you for your help and for your advice. And that's what this
So
is all about.
you don't have to make it not for profit. You can always make it as a social enterprise which impacts. Twitter was started without profit, but it makes eventually will make money. So and when you will hang out with these people, they will find you a business model around this somehow. But that making money is not a sin, as long as it helps someone, right? So if you invent if your Peace Accelerator, or one of your startup invents something which teaches English to everyone in Israel, everyone in Palestine, it still makes money, right? So what if they made $5? So and or an hour or something, whatever it is. I don't know what the problems are you face, but one of the problems I do know is English. One of the problems I do know is peace. And people buy insurance, right? So similarly, they can pay $20 a month, $30 a month, I don't know, whatever, for for an app which helps them find a friend on the other side of the border, or a friend who can teach them English. I know a friend who made like a Tinder for Israel and Palestine. It was called Verona. I can introduce you to him if you want. And there are lots of ideas which people need to work on to fix these issues. It's not rocket science. Even rocket science is easy now. It's everything is on YouTube. So think about it. Just hang out with these people. You never know.
Thank you
Just
very
like
much.
you hung out around us, and now you are a TV host, right? So just hang around the right people.
It's true. You know people by their friends, and thank God I'm blessed with some incredible friends. I know that I'm very lucky and blessed to have had great teachers and great friends. I wouldn't be who I am without any of them. So I'm glad to have you as a friend now as well. But
you have a beautiful energy. I am very happy to talk to you, and you're a relaxed person. Maybe it's just you're tired 2 a.m. in the morning. Or you're just a nice guy. I think you're a nice guy.
I'm pretty chilled out. Yeah, I'm just it's I think that when I interact with Palestinians and with Muslims, and I connect just at a basic human level. If you smile, you care. The places of coexistence in Israel actually are the hospitals. You go to the hospital, you'll have Muslim doctor, Jewish patient, nurses, everybody of every stripe. And in the hospital, everybody, they care about each other. They care about each other as human beings. They all want for everybody to be healthy, and they appreciate the people who are the caregivers, the nurses, the doctors, all of the staff. Like, everybody is really sort of, it's the great equalizer that we're all humans, and it's something very special. It's the basic human level that life begins. Yes, Carla. She's absolutely right. So that's my experience. At the core, we're just we're simple human beings, and we're reaching out for each other. We are brothers, we're sisters, we're cousins. We have our own specific families, but our families, our general families, we can get together to wish each other well on our holidays, on our celebrations, the good times in life, the harder times in life. And I think that's just at a very simple level. We had the Jewish New Year a couple of weeks ago, and it really touched me when my Muslim friends reached out to wish us a Happy New Year. I was surprised by it. I was surprised by how moved I was by it. But it was something very very simple, but it made a difference. And I'm sure the other side, when Ramadan comes in, and we wish you Ramadan Kareem and Mubarak, and it's meant with from a genuine place. Like, I've gone to a couple of iftar meals, and I felt like I've been going into the tent, the house of the Prophet Ibrahim, our father Abraham, that we're being welcomed in, and that people want to connect with each other. I have a Muslim woman who I work with, who at the end of she was working in the evenings, and the fast was ending, and I offered her, do you want some dates? I have some pita, some hummus. I know you're fasting, and I know you're because we have our fasts as well, and so we know what the experience. We don't do it for a whole month, but we know what the experience is like to have a day where you're not eating and you're tired and it's not easy to concentrate. And so I just offered her some water, some things, and I could see how much she appreciated just that basic human gesture. And it's real, that's we're all God's creatures. We're all mortal. We were all once cute little babies, and we all.
I'm still cute.
Yeah.
Bald and cute.
So we're all headed to the same place at the end of our days. We need to make it work while we're all together. That we create a world with positive energy, and that we help each other. That's my wish.
All these interactions that you had, was this in New York or was this in Israel?
Which interactions?
The Ramadan fasting, the
Israel.
coworker who was Muslim.
In Israel.
Nice,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. I'm from New York, so I'm pretty comfortable with and I like diversity, and I like different languages, different peoples, and I my experience with the word Ibrahim, the name Abraham comes from taxi drivers in New York City. I would go in and they would see that I'm Jewish, and they would say, "We all pray to the same one God of Ibrahim," and I would say, "Yes, that's right. We have similar stories and similar cultures." And I started to push this idea a little bit more, test it out to see what happens when you say the name Abraham and Ibrahim. And what I notice is that people start to calm down. They start to, say, you know what? We're not the same, but we have some things in common, and we can talk, and we can, the idea of this open tent where everyone is welcome, non-believers as well, is something that reduces people's tensions. It makes people relax, and it makes us, just chill out a little bit, which, I this is something that I try to do, especially in this, this very tense area. We need to relax a little bit. And I'm actually doing in the middle of making a film, where part of it is in the city of Hebron, where the patriarchs Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob and their wives are buried, and the other part in the port city of Jaffa, which is next to Tel Aviv. And the idea is that we want to be able to pray to the same God, but also to enjoy a nice day, enjoying God's creation of the beach, and that we should all have freedom of movement and freedom of prayer. So that's one of the things that I'm currently working on. What is this? Is sacrificing goat common among Jews and Muslims? Jews don't do animal sacrifices anymore. That was done in the temple, but I don't know how it works in Islam. Yeah, sacrificing was definitely an old part of our tradition.
Do you know why Muslims sacrifice the goat?
I would guess that it has something similar to do with the sacrifice of Abraham's son, if I'm not mistaken.
But one of the conflicts is that which son was it? And that's one. And most Muslims don't know that Jews believe in a different son, Muslims believe in a different son. But it's actually to remember Ibrahim. It's called Sunnat Ibrahim. Sunnah means the following, and Ibrahim is Abraham. So it's basically Sunnat Ibrahim, and to follow Ibrahim, our father, because of his sacrifice, the ultimate sacrifice to God. And in Islam, we believe that Ismail was the one who was supposed to be sacrificed. I don't know which one it was in Judaism.
Right. So that's one of those things where I say we're similar, but we're not the same. we have different traditions, and I think instead of a lot of times people will get into fights. Was it Ismail? Was it Yitzchak? Who was it? At a certain level, the point is much more about Abraham being tested, and it's I think that how we understand what's called the Akedah, the sacrifice or God's request to sacrifice, I think is actually within Judaism and in Islam and in Christianity it has an important role in how each religion understands itself. It's subject for another conversation. I might give a class on that, actually. I was thinking about it.
Cool.
Zabicha, halal, kosher meat. Yes. we have dietary.
You need to have a one-on-one conversation with this girl. You need to answer all her questions.
Yeah.
I was thinking, you mentioned Brooklyn, and Brooklyn, as most people don't know, is half Pakistan and half Jewish. So it's literally like, instead of Palestine and Israel, it's like Pakistan and Israel. It's not really, but most people live together, and there's a drama made by a Pakistani girl on Brooklyn. It's all about the Brooklyn stories and of the Pakistani community. You might want to check it out.
That's cool.
Yeah, since you grew up there. Any questions, or you want me to let go of you? You're sleepy?
I could probably stay up all night, but that's probably not good for me and my family. So, but thank you for your time. It was a pleasure, and I hope we get to speak again.
Shabbat Shalom today, and to you, and
thank you. Now we say Shavua Tov. Good week.
Shavla Tov, okay. And I hope that you have a wonderful week. And are you working tomorrow?
Yes, I am.
Sunday? Yeah, cool. Oh, okay, I'll let you go then. Definitely.
Sunday is a work day. Thank you very much.
Yeah. You're welcome. Take care. Bye-bye. Assalamu alaikum.